At the end of the 2022-23 season, the Sale Sharks women's team were offered a conditional place to compete in the women's top division of rugby in England the following season. As part of these conditions, it is a requirement for the women's team to be financially independent and sustainable without owner funding. This meant that despite continuous support and investment from the club's owners, there was still work that needed to be done to ensure the team could stay in the Premiership Women's Rugby. If they failed to fulfil these requirements, they would drop a league, meaning there would no longer be any teams from the north of England competing at the top level of rugby. As part of their efforts to ensure the team was financially stable, they released the Northern Rugby Matters campaign. Since the campaign has kicked off, the club has crowdfunded over £30,000 to support the women's team and the wider game in the north.
I think I'd still be in a grassroots team playing for my local team because I only got brought into Sale through the C of E. So I think if Sale wasn't at this level and being consistent through the Prem like they are, I wouldn't be where I am at the minute. I mean, I owe a lot of my career and my successes to Sale, so without them I wouldn't be where I am right now. For me, I was sort of an obvious person in the pathway type thing, so I sort of went through every step of the pathway, so from county to TDG to under 18s to under 20s, like I've been through that northern pathway. So for me it's sort of allowing other girls to do that as well and it be available for girls coming through. And obviously I played rugby union and rugby league when I was younger. I started in year 3 and there were northern teams, you know, DMP had loads of current internationals playing there and there was great representation. So for me personally, I want to increase that representation for younger girls to be able to look at us and be like, that's Northern Rugby and that's what I want to be part of when I'm older.
It meant a lot emotionally to the players and to us at a certain period of time when the club kind of united for us to fight for our place in the Premiership. But I think now it probably means more about what the future looks like for us and realistically like what we can do to promote rugby in the Northwest and also provide a pathway for players coming through. We are now the only sort of Northern Rugby team within the PWR and we've probably got a responsibility to continue to be here but also to drive that option of a high performance outlet for players across the whole of the North. And I think it's that constant awareness that we are different, but it's our difference that makes us special.
There's just so much talent up here that's untapped and under-resourced, and they need investment, and they need a club, and they probably likely need more than one club to support them and to get the grassroots growing. And I think it's like a massively important campaign to get, you know, all the support that this community deserves going. I didn't know how much it meant to me before I got here, because you know, when we come over from America, it's just England a lot of the time, and I didn't know how much passion and heart and just so much grit is in the North that needs to be brought into the game with investment. And yeah, so I originally I didn't really know what it meant, but now that I'm here, I understand how much it means to everyone up here and how much, you know, this club has backed this idea that will hopefully flourish into more Red Roses coming from up here, more, you know, internationals seeing this as a place that they can call home.
Yeah, I think there's so much good work that happens in the Northwest alone, like from community and grassroots rugby. Like we're really lucky to have some sort of big clubs that get behind grassroots rugby and junior sections and mini sections, and they produce some great rugby players. I think hopefully it shines a little bit of light on them as well, because ultimately we're a representation of the work that they do. We're almost like the final senior product, aren't we? But a combination of all the work that they've put in across the years with some of their players. Hopefully that doesn't just extend now to the Northwest, and obviously it means a bit more. You know, we've got some great connections up in Yorkshire and the Northeast, and it's probably just about how we unite and sort of represent them, as well as obviously Manchester being our home.
For me, especially being Northern and having supported the club for a long time, it's something that's quite close to me, quite important, because for quite a long time it's felt that maybe other parts of the country have always been ahead of us in terms of development, in terms of funding. So to have something that's putting the spotlight on the north and those clubs around there, it just gives us a little bit of an edge, a little bit of something about us. And then other people are looking at us and thinking, okay, right, they've got something about them which I really, really like, and I think it's well deserved to have that attention and media on us as a region.
I think the support has really been something interesting to see this season, especially from the men's side that were able to, rally around us. Like when we had our first big game at the AJ Bell, it was, absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, I wasn't playing, but being able to see all the men's players and staff in the stands and cheering for us and starting chants and all of that was incredible. And I think if you can extrapolate that from just that one game to the whole game of Northern Rugby and include that from the age grades, the unis, all the above, it's the amount of enthusiasm and excitement you have behind it is really unstoppable. There's no ceiling to that.
When we had a crowd of 1,400 or thereabouts, the men's team were there, people who we'd visited in the grassroots, like I'd mentioned before, were there, and it was just really felt like a whole community came around us. It was our first game. It was a big game at the AJ Bell, or the Salford City Community Stadium as it is now, and it was just sort of that recognition that we are being watched and we are supported and we are followed, because all of those people that are liking things on Instagram and commenting and doing this and that were all in one place, and going from a couple hundred of our fans at Haywood Road to then going to the Salford Community Stadium, it was all in one place, and it just showed the support for the North and how it's just constantly growing.
In February 2024, Sale Sharks women were faced with a 5-point deduction alongside Leicester Tigers women. This came after they failed to meet the requirements of an average of 13 English qualified players in their matchday squads. The penalty was automatically applied with no rights of appeal. The Rugby Football Union and Premiership Women's Rugby applied this regulation to support their commitment to the development of the domestic talent and the ambitions of the Red Roses ahead of the 2025 World Cup.
Obviously, it's been a really difficult and probably turbulent 2 years for us, but actually having people like Michelle, Simon, Jed, the unity of the club, it's actually driven us into some of those bigger conversations with the union, with governing bodies of what it does look like for us. And we are different. We do have a completely different geography. We've a completely different player profile, and it's about celebrating that. We don't want to be something else. We want to represent ourselves, and we want to be the culturally diverse team that we are and that we should be from Manchester. And I think it's about them hearing that. We've already heard that some of the World Cup legacy stuff will be up in Manchester, and it's great, and that's happening. We're at the table with a lot of conversations about how we can be better supported, knowing that our geography is different to a lot of the other clubs. And I think that's the big bit, is probably what that pathway looks like for us, knowing we cover such a massive area and a massive number of players coming through. It's probably the support around that, and how do we make sure that those players feel like they can come to Sale as a high performing outlet rather than have to arguably travel down south.
I think if you're going to have the best product in the world, which I'm sure is what England wants to have on both men's and women's side, you have to grow your talent across the whole country. And it can't just be from the south, or can't just be from the big cities. You have to have great rugby and great resources accessible no matter where you are. And I think that's how you create a powerhouse. And I know that's what the women are working to create, and obviously their depth is incredible and their talent's incredible. But how do we make sure that the next generations are just as deep in their depth charts and incredible on and off the field?
We've done a lot of the girls have done a fair bit of coaching through the foundation, and we've been out to grassroots clubs, and a lot of them have mentioned that they can't quite facilitate a full 15 for a squad, and they're having to pitch up and plays to sort of get the numbers together. So for me, I think the importance of it is at grassroots level to just keep girls recognising that the sport exists and getting involved, just to keep those participation levels high, and so that hopefully we can get a good feed through to our level in the Prem.
The next step I would see is just so many more grassroots programs popping up, especially for young girls that are probably playing on their brothers' teams and playing with other boys at the moment. I would love for them to have solely dedicated girls programs from every age grade, all the way up to their center of excellence. And I think I would love to see, you know, a lot of investment into women referees as well, women coaches, and I think it's in the vein of, if you could see it, you could be it. I think we need to grow what we have here in hopes of growing what the next generation has and the next generation has.